Hello there, this is Malay and welcome to my channel. In today's video, let's take a look at the loops. First, we're going to be talking about the for each loop. So what I have here is I have a new list called countries and I have added Canada, Australia and India into the countries list. For each loop allows you to iterate through the individual values, individual items of the list, and then you can perform the actions that you want within that loop. So for that, let's first look for a loop. You can see different actions available. We are interested in for each loop for now. Drag and drop the for each loop. It will ask value to iterate. As we already have a collection, as we already have a list called countries, just use countries and it will store into the current item, or you can just rename it to the country. You can click on save. And the number of actions that you would like to execute between this, you can put it here, and for each individual country in the countries, the number of actions will get executed. For now, let's just simply display the country. So I'll be using the display message. Title, so it's going to be the country name. Message to display is going to be the country, and the button will only be OK. Click on save and hit run. You can see the first one Canada, the next is Australia, and the next is India. Okay, so it iterated through each individual country in the countries list. Okay, so for now let me select all, right click and delete, because now we will be looking at a different loop. So here first let us ask for an input dialog, and we will be asking how many times you would like to iterate the loop. Now this is a simple loop that helps you to iterate the actions starting from a specific number, ending with a specific number. So if you would like to execute from 1 to 5, from 1 to 10, from 3 to 5, whatever that could be, it will help you to execute the set of actions between this range of the loop. Now that is what we're going to be looking at. So we're asking a user how many times you would like to iterate the loop, or rather that can be the message, and here seek an input is the dialog title, and user input is the number that's going to be entered by the user. So let's click on save. Now let's convert that text into the number. So convert text to number, because that's going to be the text. So text to convert is the user input and the text as the number. Okay, let's keep it as it is. So now then we already have a number stored in the text as number. Let's go ahead and start working with the loop. So select loop, drag and drop the loop here. Start from 1 and end to is going to be text as a number and increment by 1. So if you want to increment the loop by 1, specify 1. If you want to increment by 2, specify by 2. And then we have a loop index. So every single iteration in a loop can be identified using the loop index variable. Okay, click on save. And here let's just display the message, or rather, and here let's do one thing. We will create the files, the number of times being specified by the user. So let's use write text to a file. And in this case, file path is going to be C drive PAD, and let me use a variable. So the loop index is a variable, and I'm just going to put .txt, and what that does is it will use the loop index, which is 1, 2, 3, and the text that we want to write in the file is this is a sample text. Okay, click on save. So what this will do is it will ask the number, convert it to the actual number, numeric input, and then it will iterate through those many number of times and will generate the files with that loop index number. So let's see this in action. Let's hit run. So you can see how many times you would like to iterate the loop. I'll say 5, click on OK, and you can see it iterating 5 times and it has stopped. Let's go ahead and see the pad folder. So you can see 5 different files got generated. Okay, so for now let me select and delete this. Let me also show how do you exit the loop. So for an example, let's put if condition. So put it here or here. So if first operand, let us just say that if the loop index is greater than 3, then we would like to exit from the loop. Okay, so let's use exit loop, put it over here. Now click on run, and I'm going to give 10 as an input, but see what will happen. It will go and check when the loop index goes beyond 3, greater than 3, the loop will exit. So now if we see, we will only have 4 files created. Why? Because when we have reached to number 4, loop index number 4, it generated, but then the loop index is greater than 4. That means it has moved out of the loop. So that is how you can also use exit loop within this loop. So let me go ahead and click on delete and click on delete. Okay, so now let's go ahead and change this message a little bit. How many times you would like to create a files, or rather let's say how many files would you like to create. Okay, so let's click on save, and again we have stored the input into the text as number. So now let's use this loop condition, and before that let us also set one variable. Let's use set variable. Let's declare it here. The name of the variable is file generated, and the value that we're going to be keep is 0 for now. Okay, click on save. So initially the files generated is 0, right? Let's now use a loop, and let's go for loop condition. So now the first operand, so what that means is if the file generated is less than or equals to text as a number, right? So we're going to be checking if the file generated is less than or equal to text as a number. So 1 is less than or equal to 5. If I'm giving a 5 as an input, 1 is less than or equal to 5, yes, it will execute. 2, 3, 4, we need to increment the file generated as well. So let's click on this, and let's just use write text to a file. So the file path, as I said, is going to be pad, and let's put a file generated .txt, and again we're just going to put as a sample file content. Okay, let's click on save, and then what we will do is we will add the number to the file generated, because now we have one file generated already. Then we will be using increase variable. So let's drag and drop that variable name. That's going to be the file generated. Increment by 1. Click on save, and let's hit run. It will ask the input dialog first. So I want to create 3 files. Click on OK, and you can see it has now generated the files. The moment the loop condition became false, it just came out of the loop. So you can see it did generate 0, 1, 2 and 3, of course, because we started with 0 and we incremented by 1 here. So after the last loop condition, it became false. Files generated became 4, and the text as number was 3, and that's the reason it came out of the loop. Okay, so I hope the simple example helped you to understand how do we work with 3 different type of loops: the for each loop, the regular simple loop, and the loop with the condition. I thank you so much for watching the video.